Christmas is in the air. Our attention now, I'm sure, is firmly fixed on all that will involve our own personal celebration of the events around Christmas this year. And also, for many of us, the holidays that will follow. We're often asked the question, aren't we? What are you doing for Christmas this year? And there are so many things. We have lists, I'm sure, of things that will need to be done in the coming weeks. And right now, 2 weeks out, we can have a bit of a panic attack when we think of all the things that we'll need to get in place before the 24th of December. Such is the way we celebrate Christmas. Of course, one thing that will probably receive some attention will be preparing our house, tidying things up, because we will be receiving guests. The outside will get some attention. The lawns will be cut and the garden tidied. We want things to look good when people come to visit. And of course, we will be having decorations and Christmas lights in and outside of our house. Mind you, on the matter of our house, I think it's very important that all of our visitors at Christmas will know that they are entering a Catholic home. So make sure that the crib is put in a place of prominence. Let's have angels and shepherds and not just Santa Claus and reindeers. Let's see if we can have Christmas carols playing at times, rather than just secular Christmas songs, so that our houses, our homes, are alive with the spirit of our faith, that Christmas celebrates the birth of our Saviour. Of course, amidst all the preparations that we will be involved with in the coming weeks, let's not remember about preparing ourselves once again for the celebration of Christmas. So each year on this second Sunday of Advent, the Church presents us with the figure of John the Baptist. He's described, as we heard in the reading this morning, as a voice crying in the wilderness. I think it's a very apt description of him and his message. In a way, we need to turn aside in these coming weeks from all that will in fact command our attention and our efforts, all the hype and the glitter, and listen out for another voice, one which is really so different from all that we're hearing around us. And that voice will say, prepare a way for the Lord. Prepare a way in your own heart for the Lord. Prepare a way in your own life, afresh, for the Lord. This prophet, this strange ascetic, as we heard, dressed in camel hair and eating locusts and wild honey, he's not one of our usual figures. He's not like some smooth TV host. It's not even like some respectable religious figures. He's unusual and can be a bit off-putting. We can easily ignore him as sort of a crazy man, dismiss him because he doesn't quite fit in with everyone else. But his voice is singular. And his message is not the usual message that we hear around Christmas and all the celebrations that will accompany our celebration of Christmas. And what he's saying can be a bit jarring and doesn't fit easily with our normal focus and interests. His words can be somewhat uncomfortable for us. And maybe we want to shuffle and turn our gaze from him, because he does prick our conscience and perhaps make us feel a little restless. And I suppose the easiest thing to do would be to quickly pass on from John the Baptist and give our attention to the more interesting and pressing things that will preoccupy us in these coming 2 weeks. But John the Baptist is an essential part of Christmas. Jesus himself spoke about him often and praised him and spoke about his vital role, because he had a role to play that was, as we're reminded this morning, spoken about by the prophets of old. They spoke about this Elijah figure coming to prepare the hearts of the people for the arrival of the Messiah. And John knew this. He knew this was who he was. He understood this was his role and purpose, indeed, the totality of his life. His purpose, very simply, was to call people to be ready. To be ready, as we said, for someone who is about to follow him, who is far more powerful, he says, than I am. So in the midst of all our efforts, sometimes our frantic efforts to get everything ready for Christmas, let's hear this voice from the desert. Will we heed him? Will we stop him for a moment during the Mass today and pay attention to him and what he's saying? Because his message is simple. Are you ready to receive Jesus when he comes? Will you have a fresh place for him in your heart and in your life? And I think this means really 2 things for us. One, in these short weeks before Christmas, can we just give a little more attention to personal prayer? If you like, directing our hearts more towards God. Can we find some time to draw aside in silence, to quietly ponder the mysteries which we're about to celebrate at Christmas, to consider afresh the wonder of what is about to be celebrated? Can we take time to read scriptures, perhaps scriptures that are given to us through the liturgy of the church, that help us prepare ourselves to appropriately celebrate all that Christmas means? In other words, can we find some time in the midst of all that we'll be doing to prepare for Christmas, to prepare our hearts to receive Christ afresh, and indeed to allow our hearts to long that Christ may come to us afresh at Christmas? It's not easy because this time is so busy. But really, to truly celebrate Christmas, we need to have our hearts attuned to God. We need to find some space that Christ will come to us at Christmas. You know, we sing one of the great hymns of this season, O Come, O Come, Emmanuel. Reminds us we really want Christ to come to us. We want Christ to really be part of our lives, because he is our Saviour. He's come to save us, and we need him. But we need to prepare a place for him. And the second element is that John the Baptist, in calling the people to prepare a way for the Lord, was for them to confess their sins and to show it by being washed in the Jordan River. Because our washing is the sacrament of reconciliation. It's to purify our hearts, just like we prepare our homes for our guests. Reconciliation is the way in which we purify our hearts and have them ready to receive Christ. So let us go to confession before Christmas. Here in the parish, on the Friday before Christmas, a Friday evening, from 6 in the evening, there will be adoration here in the cathedral, and priests will be available to hear confessions. That would be a very good time, because it will be specifically devoted to making the sacrament available just prior to Christmas. So maybe you can note in your diary, Friday night, the Friday before Christmas, I'll come here to the cathedral, I'll go to confession, I'll purify my heart as I've sought to prepare my home. So this week, second week of this very short yet very beautiful liturgical season of Advent, the Church presents us with the figure of John the Baptist. And here's this voice that cries in the wilderness. His message is simple and readily applicable for each one of us. Because he says to us, prepare a way for the Lord. So this Christmas, let us hear and heed his voice.